Hello there, Jose Rodriguez once again. In this third video in my black and white series, I'm going to take you through the steps that I go through to edit a color image. In other words, turn it into a black and white image and then get it ready for print. This is the result of my last photo that I showed you. This is what it looked like before I sent it to print. And by the way, I checked the final print against my monitor and it matches. So let's go ahead and jump right into the develop module. By the way, I'm in the Lightroom CC 2015 and we're going to open up this image. And the first thing that I would do, I'm going to take you through very quickly through the steps that I use in order to get images ready for black and white printing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring the highlights down, shadows up. That tends to maximize my shadow detail and maximize my highlight detail, which in this case is not very bright because this was taken late in the afternoon. I'll go ahead and press the Alt key. I'm going to bring my white slider to the right. You can see immediately that is showing that these highlights are being clipped. So we're going to go ahead and adjust that again until they're no longer clipped. And we'll do the same thing with the shadows until you see that they're being clipped. Anytime you see that indication, you can see right there those clipping indications, that means those areas are going to be clipped. So we want to have it right above the clip point. Alright, now we're going to go ahead. As you can see, my histogram is leaning toward the dark side, and that is because a lot of these tonalities fall within that realm. We're going to go ahead and bring some of them up a bit. You can either do so by dragging the sliders or literally hovering your mouse over the zones of the histogram and then moving them, as you can see. So this is affecting only the midtones. And say this is what you like, this is fine. We're going to go ahead and increase the contrast a little bit, and this is what we'll begin with. With my white point down a bit. Okay, now next is the conversion to black and white. We're going to go to the third module down on the right side of the Lightroom set of modules. We're going to go to the third one down and hit black and white. And there you go. This is what happens. So now we know that these areas here that appear just gray and dull originally were composed of color, as you can see here. So we're going to take advantage of that and we're going to adjust these sliders. And as you can see, I'm immediately brightening that area. And we're going to just go ahead and play with it until we reach a point where we have a nice tonal range within that photograph. As you can see, there's really no aqua or much green, a little bit of blue. In this case, I want a rather bright sky because that will contrast really nicely against the darker shades which were originally orange, as you can see. So we can actually take the orange, drag it down, and go to the extreme. That's not really very good looking at all. Alright, so once we reach a point where we like the way the representations of color are, we can go back on top and play around with the contrast, brightness, until we are pleased with what we have. Now when you're working in a black and white conversion, vibrance no longer applies, only clarity. So we're going to add a little bit of clarity. And I want to take a look and see whether I have any kind of digital noise to deal with. And there really isn't any. So that's good. Alright, we're going to go over to I'm going to close this down. We're done with that. I'm going to go ahead and add a little sharpening. Once I do that, then this becomes active, the masking. And I'm going to hit my Alt key and move the masking to the right. And you can see that when I'm over by the left, every single irregularity that existed in that image will be treated as an area to be sharpened. We don't want that. We want to keep the sky unaffected. So I'm going to slide my slider almost all the way to the right until I only have basically the edges or the contrasting edges where two different tonalities meet selected. Now that will allow me to then sharpen quite a bit without making, say, areas where there might have been a little bit of noise or texture becoming just over sharpened and kind of get an artifact look to them. That's the trick. Use your masking, bring it over to the right until you have not here, as you can see, a lot of the texture of the underneath of the rocket is being sharpened. We don't want that. We want the edges sharpened. So that's about it right there. Then we can always add a little bit of noise reduction and color noise reduction. Okay, now we're going to go down and I'm going to add a little bit of a vignette, and I like to have my midpoint brought all the way down, roundness about 3/4 of the way, and feathering. And so that will then vignette the edges and bring the attention of the viewer to this area here. Now, if there's any noise whatsoever, you can basically obliterate it by just adding a little green. This will actually simulate the look of film to a certain extent. Now, new with Lightroom CC 2015 is the dehaze filter, which would apply if this had a hazy look to it, which it does not, but I'll just give you a quick rundown. If you run it to the right, it increases contrast, but not just increases contrast. As you can see, I am actually adding haze. So let's put it back to 0 and go on with our next adjustment. So now we can go back to the upper basic adjustment section. I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to basically hit this area here like so, and I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit. That way I am lighting up this area here. This area here is a little bit dark, so I'm going to go ahead and lighten it up as well. These are the final adjustments I'm going to make. Like that. You can see the luminance that's coming from this direction here. I like the way that looks. Now I'm going to throw a radial filter from the bottom up, and I'm going to hit my shift key to constrain it. And no, I'll possibly, let me tilt it like that. And I'll go ahead and lower the exposure and like so. Okay, and that is our image ready for print. Now, we're going to go over to the printer. It's going to load up the image. I already have my 3800 set for 17 by 22 paper. Now, I have it set to zoom to fill. Remember, zoom to fill will fill the complete cell, whatever the cell size you provide. So I want to be able to keep the complete image without cropping. And this image, I composed it, while I was shooting, so I don't need to crop anything off of it. So we'll go ahead and print it that way, rather than zoom to fill. I'm not going to touch anything else. I will, however, add a stroke, as I always do to my images. We're going to go directly to the bottommost section of the print module, and that is where we set our print resolution, which is the native resolution of an EPSON printer, at 360 ppi. Print sharpening, glossy, and standard. You could use a higher setting, but I find that standard sufficient. Now, for color management, normally you would have the printer handling your color management, but because we actually turned off color management inside the printer, you see, no color adjustment. We're going to then allow Lightroom to control color, and that is the correct methodology for printing. And when we do that, we have to choose a ICC profile. And as I told you in my previous video, I was able to use an EPSON ICC profile for photo glossy photo paper. So I'll go ahead and choose that. And that is about it. We're going to go ahead and print, and the print will come out as I see it on my monitor. Now, in the last video, I showed you that I had printed this image. So now this image would be the complement for this one. Okay, so that's it. That's all you have to do. Remember, when you print through Lightroom, through Photoshop, or any other editing application that allows you to use ICC profiles, you must turn color management off inside the printer driver. And with the EPSON 3800 or the 3880, you do that here. Normally it will be set on automatic, and it'll be EPSON standard sRGB. You click on custom, you drop down the menu, and you pick no color management or no color adjustment. That is it. Now, quality setting. You have speed, quality, and then quality options. This is speed, and this is quality. So you're printing at 2880 by 1440. When you're printing at that higher resolution on glossy paper, luster paper, you'll get great results. If you were printing this onto a matte paper, you would probably want to use a lower resolution. Basically what you want to avoid, because matte paper has a wicking action, the ink droplets will begin to sort of blend together and become kind of a muddy looking effect on your final print. You want to actually spread the dots a little bit wider apart, and that's why you want to use a lower printing resolution. That way, as the dots spread as they will on matte paper, they don't actually just blend into a muddy puddle. Basically, is what happens. Okay, so that's it. You're all ready to print. Just hit the print button and wait for your print to come out of the printer. All right, so if you like this video, please like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Any questions you might have, please ask them in the section below. So till the next time, happy printing. Bye-bye.